This is not just a speech, it's a takeover. It's a worldwide move. It's a move that says so much more than we're seeing from the headlines or the mainstream media news outlets. What we're seeing here is tactical, it's precise, it's powerful, it's meaningful, and target-oriented for a goal of dominance. And it's being accepted. It's a campaign not only against terrorism for everyone to join against, but it's also a movement of global proportions that's garnering nations to rise up together in solidarity as one. It's winning hearts, and it has started a revolution for all of the continents of the world to stand with India, to get behind them as they take the lead in this major movement. As Sashi explained in this speech how India took out terrorists in Pakistan, that its military and intelligence did it with precision, accuracy, and minimal collateral damage.
Unfortunately, our desire to just be left alone is not reciprocated by our friends on the other side of the border. But what has changed in recent years is that the terrorists have also realized they will have a price to pay. In fact, there were some women who cried out, "The terrorists kill me too." And they said, "No, go back, tell what happened to you." We heard their cries, and India decided that the color of the sindoor, that vermilion color on the forehead of our women, will also match the color of the blood of the killers, the perpetrators, the attackers. They sent us drones, missiles. Our air defenses blocked them, and we hit very precisely 11 military targets on the night of the 9th and 10th of May. And we say to you, understanding this means being prepared that this may happen again. But we are telling you in advance, if it happens again, be prepared for worse to happen to them.
It's opening eyes that maybe the world needs a new leader in this fight. And from what we're seeing from the response, that leader is Modi's team in India. It's working. If you were to read between the lines of this speech how he masterfully stitches his words to alleviate any negative comments against Western powers' inadequacy to deal with the real terrorism, but gives demonstration to facts examples of India's accuracy on dismantling terrorists. In other words, we can do the job. And as we've seen recently with some countries in Africa literally kicking out French and American military bases that were set up to fight the terrorist regimes, and bringing in the Wagner Group and Russia's military to replace them, the results have been working for them. And there's a superiority, a new level of global dominance to this, and India is throwing their hat in the ring. The best case scenario here is that maybe the world has found a legitimate democracy, a more trusting source, and most capable power in the world offering an opportunity and way forward to end global terrorism as we know it. So when you hear this, think less about the juicy headlines and sound bites that woo people into a state of looking for the next shot of dopamine, and think more about the larger perspective on how this could affect the whole future of how the world together, as a whole, in unison, destroys terrorism. I don't know about you, but I don't want to sit back and watch a major movement take place that I can tell my kids about. I want to be that move that my kids hear about. And people all around the world are joining hands and coming together for this because it could end 90% of the major wars that take place on this earth. You see, terrorism is that spark that starts most wars. And fighting against it together brings solidarity and unity to countries that would normally be enemies with one another, but instead they're joining hands together on this common goal. That's what's going on here. The world is going back to no tolerance against terrorist attacks and wants to get the terrorists before they strike, not after they strike. The world is ready to make this terrorism obsolete. And if they poke their heads out, the terrorists, if they poke their heads out of the place where they're hiding, they'll lose it. The message is loud and clear. India is not holding back and talking behind the closed doors in private rooms about this. So get ready to see how the diplomats and bureaucrats react. And that in itself will give the people an idea of who is for peace and who's not. The team that it was just sent out from India, these aren't just speeches that they're going to give. These are the world's top influencers selling a real product. Their weapons and immediate response to terminate terrorists was more than a victory for India, but it was shown to the world, a reality TV commercial almost, for those countries that need these services rendered. And many of these countries have money, if not cash. They have resources and are willing to negotiate because the price for being a stable country with minimal threats to terrorists is beneficial in more ways than one. Countries that are unstable due to terrorist cells within, they're hard up to get loans from the IMF to advance infrastructure or technical advances as they lay dormant at that moment, while the rest of the world with these benefits moves light years ahead of them. And don't think that this isn't a competitive market, but the supply is short and the competition for this service is with the United States, France, England, and Russia. But as of late, most of these choices are all bad due to the inadequacies for an endgame where military bases acquire the position but never resolve the issue completely. Usually because the country wants to keep its base in the territory, and if the need for them to be there is no longer necessary, they lose global position and, more importantly, they lose trust. But India seems to be the most trustworthy partner in all these choices, who have most recently shown that they have the intelligence, the manpower, and arsenal to produce the results the world is looking for. New Delhi. 3 all-party delegations on Saturday began their visits to Africa, the Americas, and West Asia, including one led by Congress MP Shashi Tharoor, traveling to the U.S. as part of India's outreach to inform partners of the zero-tolerance policy for terrorism emanating from Pakistan. The delegation led by Tharoor will visit the U.S., Panama, Guyana, Brazil, and Colombia, while another team led by Bharatiya Janata Party, the BJP, MP Bajayant Panda will visit Bahrain, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Algeria. The third delegation, led by Nationalist Congress Party Sharath Chandra Pawar, NCP's MP Supriya Sule will travel to Qatar, Egypt, Ethiopia, South Africa, as well as parts of India's continuing efforts to inform its interlocutors about the country's resolve to combat terrorism, as demonstrated by Operation Sindoor, which was launched on May 7th in retaliation against the Pahalgam terror attacks last month that killed 26 civilians. India is sending 7 delegations to 33 countries around the world to brief officials, political leaders, parliamentarians, and experts about the country's new approach tackling cross-border terrorism. The visit to the U.S. is being seen as the most crucial, and the government decided to rope in Tharoor to lead the team going into Washington in view of his standing in Western capitals. Check this out. They're infesting the world with this. The countries being visited by the all 7 parliamentary delegations include the United Arab Emirates, Liberia Democratic Republic, the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, Sierra Leone, Japan, United States, France, South Korea, Slovenia, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, Guyana, Panama, Colombia, Brazil, Egypt, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Russia, Saudi Arabia, European EU headquarters, which is not a country but a supranational entity additionally. The delegations are visiting countries that are permanent and non-permanent members of the UN Security Council, as well as incoming UNSC members. Other UNC members are likely to include China, United Kingdom, Germany, potentially as a frequent non-permanent member, other rotating UNSC members for 2025, which could include countries like Malta, Mozambique, Switzerland, or, based on the type of rotation, schedules for the outreach also targets influential global players and members of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, such as Oman Gulf Cooperation Council, nations like Saudi Arabia, already listed, and potentially others like Iraq. Some reports also mention visits to the capital like Tokyo, Seoul, and Moscow, which align with Japan, South Korea, and Russia being on the list. The delegations are engaging with countries in Europe, Africa, Asia, and the Americas to maximize diplomatic leverage. However, the exact list of all 33 countries isn't fully detailed or available to us as for resources right now. So to name any more countries would just be speculative, and we're not going to do that. But that's a lot. This is a lot. This is literally going around the world and saying, here we are. Are you in? Are you out? And right now, yeah, it sounds pretty good to almost everybody. So this is it. This is it. This is the takeover. Are you in or are you out? Are you going to help us defeat terrorism, or are you going to be part of the problem? It's a pretty simple choice. And it looks like we have a brand new leader in this role on Earth.